So when your husband or boyfriend does this little shrug with his shoulders, do you know what it means? Can you tell when he's lying to you? Our next guest prides herself in helping you figure that out. Her name is Lynn Scarborough, and she's joining us today to talk about couples' body language. So Lynn, give us the goods, girl. We need to know.
Well, what happens is that people use body language to tell those signals that maybe the person isn't saying with their words. Because what we don't realize is 97% of our everyday communication is not the words. The words are only 7% of what people remember. They're watching your body, your gestures, your posture, and they're listening to your voice and the inflection of your voice to see if you're really telling the truth. That you know, the CIA shows, they record and they play it back slowly. Is he lying or not? They're watching for the tells.
Okay, so last night I was watching The Bachelor, right?
Oh dear.
My daughter has me all hooked on it, and there was a standoff between The Bachelor and Ashley, where she was like, "No, you said I was the only one." He was like, "I never said that."
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it was a total. You know, what could I have looked at to know who was telling the truth? It's like killing me.
Well, you got to watch men. The challenge is that men use less body language than women do.
Okay.
And when women get extremely emotional with them, they'll just totally shut down. And when she got angry, and in situations where the women got too angry, he just sort of shut down and he sort of put it, you could see the wall went up.
Yes.
And chances are he might have been telling the truth, because women use emotion and a lot of body language to kind of manipulate men into doing what they want.
Right.
I mean, women are
right.
allowed to use more body language than men are. Now, the men that use a lot of body language, you know, unless they're actors or incredibly expressive or real athletic, you know, a lot of them remind you of a used car salesperson, because they're trying to get in your space.
That's my husband.
No. Right, but they've been trained to use their bodies, and they're more fluid.
Right, because he's really calm, but if we're in the middle of a debate, it gets real,
So
you know.
when you're talking with your loved one,
Yes.
whether it's a girl or a boy or whatever, you're talking to them, and you're really talking to them, and you said, "Talk to me," and they just stand there, or they don't say anything. Is that passive aggressive?
Oh yeah, you bet.
That's right.
But sometimes it's passive aggressive, but sometimes some people, their emotions just can't come out. They can't talk. They're feeling it so intensely, it's like the feeling button overrides, so they can't speak. And so you have to be sensitive with a person who's like that. Like, I have a very good friend. She knows what she feels, but she can't say it. I have to stop. I have to totally shut down, because my movement, my body language will shut her down, and she'll feel like I'm trying to dominate her.
Okay.
So you have
Let me ask you this. So when somebody looks away when they're talking to you,
yes,
oftentimes people say that means they're lying. Is that true?
No. There's a difference between the way men and women look at each other and how much eye contact they like to establish.
Okay.
Sometimes people are looking away because they're trying to remember. Sometimes they're looking away because their cell phone's buzzing. Sometimes, but they did a study with women. When they put women together and best friends, women would sit across from each other and they'd look eye to eye. Now, men, when they would sit next to their good friend, their best friend, they would sit across from each other, not establishing straight eye contact, or they'd sit right next to each other and they'd sit there and they'd talk and they'd sort of fiddle and they'd kind of look up like this. Because men, it's more of a dominance thing. Men do not like to look eye to eye contact with other men. And sometimes when you're doing eye to eye, they may feel a little bit threatened, or or they just may be distracted because the television set's on. That's a big one. That's the big one.
That means they're shut down.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Because I believe this.
Yes.
Men aren't necessarily as complicated as women. To me,
well,
they're just not they're not as devious. They don't have to manipulate.
She's always got the man's back.
I think we're all complicated, but we're complicated in different ways.
I think men are pretty bad. You know, one time somebody said, "What do you want from men? What do you expect from a man? And what do you want from women?" And he said, "I just want you to show up naked carrying a six-pack."
But is that after the Italian meal? I mean, Well, I think we're all complicated in different ways, but men feel when you're talking about feeling, men don't like to talk about feeling. Women will talk about feeling. When you talk about feeling, men feel exposed and vulnerable. Whereas women, in the physical sense, we feel more naturally, you know, we try to cover ourselves, we feel more exposed, whereas men will walk around totally butt naked. They don't care. They don't care.
I love
yeah,
that.
look at that. Hey, I got a 4 to 24 pack. You know, they don't care and they're proud of it. But it's just a difference where it's, you know, intimate versus physical. Whereas men are driven many times more by what they see visually, and women are driven by what we hear and the tone of the voice.
Well, this is awesome. Thank you.
Oh, it's been fun.
I love it.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
I think it's going to help me be able to communicate better with my husband and girlfriends and anybody in general.
And one trick is just when a person is trying to talk, just shut it down and just kind of listen and stay still.
All right, we got it.
Will do.
Thank you. For more information on Lynn and her book, Talk Like Jesus. I love that. Log
Why
on to.
didn't we talk about that?
We'll talk about that next time, Susie. Next time.
Will you come again?
Happy to.
So we can
Happy
talk
to.
about that.